We celebrated the best quarter in company history with cold pizza and forced applause. They thought I'd smile through it. Instead, I triggered the $18 million walkout they never saw coming. 9 years of dedication, 65% of Q4 revenue generated by my team, and they rewarded us with cardboard circles covered in cheap cheese. But that Thursday night at the rooftop bar, when 6 brilliant minds chose loyalty over corporate betrayal, I knew the dominoes were perfectly positioned. All it took was one email sent at exactly 9:15 a.m. to bring their glass tower crashing down. My name is Riley James, and at 36, I'd given Zentraxis Technologies the best years of my career, 9 years of 60-hour weeks, missed birthdays, and postponed vacations had earned me the title of Director of Business Strategy and a corner office overlooking Seattle's perpetual drizzle. More importantly, my team and I had built something extraordinary, a growth engine that consistently delivered nearly 65% of the company's quarterly revenue. The warning signs started small, like hairline cracks in a windshield. During the Monday leadership meeting in early December, Max Carter, our CEO, called me Rachel twice before someone corrected him. I'd been presenting our Q4 projections directly to him for 3 years. The room went quiet for a heartbeat before Max laughed it off with that practiced charm that had fooled investors since our Series B funding. Sorry, Riley. You know how it is, too many names. Too little coffee. He flashed that $1 million smile while his eyes remained cold as the conference room's brushed steel fixtures. I smiled back, professional as always, and continued my presentation. But something had shifted. The next week, my team's strategic roadmap mysteriously went missing from the shared drive 2 hours before the board review. It claimed it was a system glitch, but I'd been in tech long enough to know the difference between a bug and a feature. Then came the KPI adjustments. Overnight, our performance metrics became moving targets. Goals we'd exceeded by 20% were suddenly meeting expectations. The sophisticated algorithms my team had developed to optimize client acquisition algorithms that had generated 8-figure returns were now classified as standard operational improvements. Sarah from HR started avoiding eye contact in the elevator. Tom from accounting suddenly needed additional approvals for my team's routine budget requests. Even the security guard who'd known me for years began checking my badge twice. But I'm not someone who panics. I observe, I document, I plan. My team noticed the changes too. Eli, our lead analyst, mentioned his quarterly review had been pushed back indefinitely. Sasha found her parking spot reassigned to the overflow lot. Despite her senior status, Kendra discovered her conference speaking invitation had been mysteriously withdrawn due to scheduling conflicts that didn't exist. During our Thursday team meeting, I watched their faces carefully. These weren't just colleagues. They were the people who'd stayed until midnight debugging code, who'd flown to Detroit in January to save a client relationship, who'd turned Zentraxis from a struggling startup into a market leader. The exhaustion in their eyes wasn't from the work we'd always worked hard. It was from the deliberate erosion of respect. Anyone else notice the pattern, I asked, closing my laptop. Wesley laughed bitterly. You mean how my wife thinks I've been demoted because I haven't been included in a leadership email in 3 weeks? Or how my innovation bonus mysteriously vanished from the compensation spreadsheet, Jordan added, spinning her pen between her fingers, a nervous habit she'd developed during our last product launch. Noel, usually our optimist, just shook his head. They're setting us up for something. I leaned back in my chair, studying the awards on the wall testimony to our collective achievements. Then maybe it's time we started setting something up ourselves. The room fell silent. Not the uncomfortable silence of disagreement, but the charged quiet of possibility. That night, I went home and pulled out my employment contract. 9 years ago, I'd been too eager to negotiate properly, but I'd learned since then, every amendment, every bonus structure, every deliverable, I'd documented it all. And there, buried in subsection 3.2.4, was the clause that would matter performance bonuses were non-discretionary for teams exceeding targets by 15% or more. We'd exceeded them by 47%. I opened a new folder on my personal laptop and named it simply Exit Protocol. Outside my apartment window, Seattle's skyline glittered with false promises. Somewhere in that maze of glass and steel, Max Carter was probably having drinks with investors, taking credit for another record quarter. He thought he was playing chess while we were playing checkers. He had no idea I'd been playing an entirely different game. The all-hands meeting was scheduled for Friday, December 15th, at 2 p.m. sharp. The entire Seattle office crammed into the main conference hall, a cavernous space designed to impress investors more than accommodate employees. The anticipation was palpable. Q4 had shattered every record, and compensation announcements traditionally came with fanfare proportional to success. I sat with my team in the middle section, close enough to see Max's expressions, but far enough to observe the entire room. Eli bounced his knee nervously. Sasha had her phone ready to text her husband the good news. We'd earned this. The numbers didn't lie. Our strategies had landed 3 major enterprise clients and expanded existing accounts by an average of 38%. Max strutted onto the stage wearing his signature navy suit and that practiced humility he'd perfected for TED Talks. The presentation screens flickered to life with our Q4 achievements. Revenue up 52%. Client retention at 94%. Market share expanded in 7 key verticals. Zentraxis family, he began, arms spread wide like a televangelist. We've just completed the most successful quarter in company history. Applause erupted. I clapped too, watching him soak in the adoration. Your dedication, your innovation, your sacrifice, it's all paid off. He paused for effect, that small smirk playing at his lips. And that's why I'm thrilled to announce this year's special recognition reward. The screens changed. My stomach dropped before my brain processed what I was seeing. A cartoon pizza danced across the display. Comic Sans font spelled out, Zentraxis Pizza Party Appreciation Celebration. That's right, Max continued, oblivious or indifferent to the stunned silence creeping through the room. Next Friday, we're treating everyone to an authentic pizzeria experience right here in the office, unlimited slices, soft drinks, and wait for it, ice cream bars for dessert. Someone in accounting started a weak, confused applause. Others joined in. The sound hollow and mechanical. I didn't move. Couldn't move. 9 years. 65% of revenue. Pizza. I know. Max chuckled, misreading the room entirely. You're speechless, but you've earned it. Every single slice. Beside me, Sasha's phone slipped from her fingers, clattering on the floor. The sound echoed in the terrible quiet that followed Max's announcement. I watched her bend to retrieve it, saw her hands shaking as she deleted whatever message she'd been about to send her husband. Questions? Max asked brightly. A junior developer raised her hand tentatively. What about the performance bonuses? The email in October said. Yes, Max interrupted smoothly. Given the current economic climate and our need to remain competitive, we've made the strategic decision to invest in team experiences rather than individual payouts. Studies show shared celebrations build stronger corporate culture than monetary rewards. He clicked to the next slide, a stock photo of diverse professionals laughing over pizza. The manipulation was so transparent it was almost insulting. Almost. But the contracts someone else started have been reviewed by legal and HR, Max cut in, his smile tightening. All compensation has been distributed according to company discretion. Now, who's excited for Hawaiian versus pepperoni? The meeting dissolved into murmurs and shuffling feet. My team remained seated, frozen. I finally looked at each of them, seeing my own realization reflected in their eyes. This wasn't oversight or miscommunication. This was deliberate humiliation. Riley, Jordan whispered, my mortgage payment I was counting on. I know, I said quietly. Wesley's face had gone pale. My daughter's college tuition is due in January. I know. We filed out in silence while Max glad-handed executives near the stage. As we passed, he caught my eye and winked. Actually winked. Like we were sharing some inside joke about crushing the dreams of the people who'd built his empire. Back in our team room, nobody spoke for several minutes. Finally, Noel pulled up our Q4 metrics on his laptop. 64.7% of total revenue generated by our strategies. Trading at $78 per share, up from $31 this time last year, Eli added mechanically. 8-figure bonuses for C-suite, according to the SEC filing I saw in draft, Kendra said, her voice flat. I stood at the whiteboard where we'd mapped out the strategies that had transformed Zentraxis from a struggling startup into an industry leader. All those late nights, all those brilliant solutions, all those sacrifices. Worth exactly one slice of pizza. Everyone, go home early, I said. Take the weekend. Think about what you want to do next. What are you going to do? Sasha asked. I picked up a marker and drew a single line through our Q1 projections. What I should have done a long time ago, document everything. As they gathered their things, I added, and maybe update your LinkedIn profiles, just in case. The knowing looks they exchanged told me they were already 3 steps ahead. Good. We'd need that synchronization for what came next. That night, I sat in my home office with my employment contract, my performance reviews, and 9 years of metrics spread across my desk. The bonus clause was clear, non-discretionary meant non-discretionary. The only question was whether fighting for what we'd earned was worth staying in a place that valued our worth at roughly $3.50 per person. I opened my exit protocol folder and created a new document, Evidence. The pizza party was scheduled for next Friday. They had no idea what else I was planning for that week. Saturday morning, I drove to the office at 6:45 a.m. The building was empty except for security and a few overseas team members on video calls. Perfect. I needed access to files that weren't meant for remote viewing. My keycard still worked small mercies, and I made my way to the 20th floor. The executive printer held a treasure trove draft budgets, compensation plans, and most importantly, the real Q4 bonus allocation spreadsheet, not the sanitized version they'd shown us, but the one with actual numbers. I photographed everything, careful to leave no digital footprint. The numbers were staggering. Max's bonus $4.2 million, the CFO $2.8 million. Even the VP of Marketing, whose biggest achievement was rebranding our slide templates, pulled in $800,000. My team's combined allocated bonus before the strategic reallocation $1.9 million. After reallocation 0, I found the email trail in the archived communications folder. Printing selectively, Max to the CFO, dated November 3rd. Need to minimize director-level payouts. Market conditions provide cover. Suggest alternative recognition methods. The CFO's response, pizza party. Did it at my last company. Minimal cost, maximum insult. They can't complain about free food. Max's reply made my hands shake. Perfect. Make sure Riley's team gets the message. Too much influence for non-executives. Time to remind them where they stand. I photographed that exchange 3 times, from different angles, ensuring every pixel was crystal clear. HR's files revealed more. Performance reviews had been retroactively edited. My team's achievements were systematically downgraded from exceptional to meets expectations. Projects we'd led were reassigned to other departments in the official record. They weren't just stealing our bonuses, they were erasing our contributions. But they'd been sloppy. The metadata showed modification dates. The version control revealed who made changes. Harold from HR, always nervous around authority, had left a digital paper trail a mile wide. I spent 3 hours building my case, cross-referencing contracts with actual deliverables, documented KPIs with revised ones, original emails with edited versions. By 9:30 a.m., I had 47 pages of evidence that would make any employment lawyer salivate. On my way out, I stopped by Harold's desk. A sticky note with his password, Winter is Coming 2023, was tucked under his keyboard. Amateur move. I logged into his system and found the smoking gun, a folder labeled Restructuring Confidential. Inside were termination templates for my entire team, dated for January 15th, 2 weeks after the holidays. They weren't just denying our bonuses, they were planning to fire us once they'd extracted our Q1 strategies. I forwarded the entire folder to my personal email, then found something else, similar templates from 2 years ago. Another high-performing team. Similar tactics, same result. We weren't the first, but we'd be the last. Monday morning came too quickly. I scheduled one-on-ones with each team member, keeping them off the official calendar. In the small conference room overlooking the sound, I laid out the evidence. Eli went silent when he saw his termination paperwork. January 15th, my wife's due January 20th. They know, I said. Your insurance paperwork is attached. Sasha studied the bonus reallocation spreadsheet. $1.9 million, divided by 7 of us, She did the math. 270,000 each. That's what they stole. Before taxes, Wesley added bitterly. Still life-changing money. I showed them the email exchanges, the edited reviews, the historical pattern. With each revelation, their shock transformed into something colder, more focused. So what do we do? Jordan asked. Sue. That's one option, I agreed. It would take years, cost hundreds of thousands, and they'd bury us in legal procedures. Or, I let the word hang. Or, Noel prompted, we could make them irrelevant. Tuesday, I met with my lawyer, Sandra Chen, the employment law specialist who'd helped me negotiate my last contract amendment. She reviewed the evidence with the precision of a surgeon. The bonus clause is airtight, she confirmed. Non-discretionary means they legally owe you this money. The retroactive review edits constitute fraud. The termination planning while extracting strategies could be argued as bad faith dealing. How long to litigate? 18 to 36 months. They'll stall, appeal, countersue for breach of confidentiality over these documents. She adjusted her glasses. You'll probably win, but at what cost? And if we simply leave? She smiled. Your non-compete expired last year. You renewed without one because Max said you were family. His words, documented in email. You're free to work anywhere, and with proper notice, take your intellectual property and client relationships. What about the others? Similar situations. Kendra and Wesley never signed non-competes. The others have weak ones 6 months, limited geographic scope, unenforceable if they resign properly. Wednesday. I compiled everything into a secure folder: evidence, legal opinions, termination proof, and the crown jewel, a complete list of every client relationship, every strategy document, every proprietary process my team had developed, all legally ours. According to the intellectual property clauses, they'd forgotten to update when they promoted us. That evening, I sent a single message to my team's private signal group. Coffee tomorrow, the real kind, not the office swill. We need to talk about January 15th. The responses came quickly. They were ready. The pizza party was Friday. They had no idea the feast we were actually planning. Thursday morning. We met at Victrola Coffee on Capitol Hill. Far from Zentraxis's financial district fortress, the December rain provided perfect cover. Nobody from the office would venture to this neighborhood before 9 a.m. I arrived first, securing the corner booth with clear sightlines to both entrances. Old habits from competitive intelligence work. Eli showed up next, followed by Sasha and Jordan together. Wesley brought pastries. Kendra had her laptop out before she even sat down. Noel arrived last, checking over his shoulder with the paranoia of someone who'd just discovered they were living in a corporate thriller. So, I began, sliding folders across the table. January 15th. They read in silence. I watched their faces cycle through the stages: disbelief, anger, and finally, that cold clarity that comes with understanding you've been marked for execution. They're keeping us through Q1 launch, Kendra said, her analyst mind already working. Extract our strategies, implement our roadmap, then cut us loose before the next bonus cycle. While making it look like performance issues, Wesley added, pointing to the pre-edited reviews. No severance required for underperformers. Jordan closed her folder carefully. I've been wondering why Marcus from recruiting kept asking about our project documentation. Now I know they're already interviewing our replacements. So what do we do? Eli asked. I can't afford to be unemployed with a baby coming. I took a sip of coffee, letting the moment build. What if I told you none of us would be unemployed? What if we all had offers in hand before we walked? The table went quiet, except for the hiss of the espresso machine. I had lunch with Heather Morrison yesterday, I continued. Remember her left Zentraxis 2 years ago to become Chief Growth Officer at Lenexa Group? Sasha's eyes widened. Our biggest competitor. Our most innovative competitor, I corrected. They've been trying to crack the enterprise market for 18 months. Guess what they need? A team that just landed 3 major enterprise clients, Noel said slowly. And the strategies to retain them, added Wesley. I smiled. Heather's not interested in hiring employees. She wants to acquire a fully functioning unit, all of us, together, with signing bonuses that, coincidentally, match what Zentraxis owes us. Can she do that? Jordan asked. Already has board approval. I showed her our Q4 numbers. She nearly fell off her chair. I pulled out my phone, showing them the email. Official offers contingent on clean resignations, 70% salary increase, full remote options, equity packages, and $1 million team bonus for hitting Q2 targets. Which we will, Kendra said, already running numbers in her head. With our client relationships intact. But the non-competes, Eli started, don't exist or aren't enforceable, I interrupted. I've had Sandra Chen review everything. We're clear. The energy at the table shifted. I could see them thinking, planning, imagining life beyond pizza parties and retroactive downgrades. There's more, I said. Our client contracts at Zentraxis. I've reviewed them all. The key relationships are tied to our personal involvement, not the company. Contractual language Max insisted on to show executive commitment. His ego's about to cost him 65% of revenue. They'll sue, Wesley said. Let them. We're following every legal requirement. Proper notice, transition documentation, even offering to train replacements. I paused. Of course, it takes time to transfer 9 years of institutional knowledge. Seikao. 2 weeks. Just enough time to ensure clients understand their options, Sasha added with the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in months. What about the pizza party? Noelle asked. Tomorrow's the big celebration. I pulled out the final document. That's where this gets interesting. Heather wants us to start January 2nd, but she's happy to backdate our consulting agreements to December 15th. Technically, we could submit our resignations. During the pizza party, Jordan finished, a slow grin spreading across her face. Maximum impact, Eli agreed. They'll be standing there with their Hawaiian slices while their revenue stream walks out the door. Poetic, added Wesley. We spent the next 2 hours strategizing. Everyone would prepare resignation letters tonight, saved in drafts. We'd attend the pizza party as usual. Then, at exactly 2:15 p.m. peak celebration time, we'd submit simultaneously. One more thing, I said as we prepared to leave. Document everything tomorrow, every interaction, every response, every threat. Sandra says retaliation after proper resignation is actionable. If Max wants to turn this into a war, we need ammunition. What about our current projects? Kendra asked, ever the professional. Full documentation prepared and ready to hand over. We're not sabotaging anything, just declining to continue building their empire while they feast on our remains. As we filed out into the Seattle drizzle, Eli caught my arm. Riley, why didn't you just take Heather's offer yourself? Why bring all of us? I looked at my team, my real team, standing under the coffee shop's awning. Because they made one critical error. They thought we were just employees. They never understood we're a unit. You don't celebrate a 65% revenue contribution with pizza. And you definitely don't plan to fire the people who achieved it. Besides, I added, watching them disperse to their cars, revenge is a dish best served with 7 signatures instead of 1. That night, I drafted my resignation letter. Simple, professional, effective immediately. I CC'd the board of directors, major investors, and because I'm petty when the occasion calls for it, the Seattle Business Journal reporter who'd been asking about Zentraxis' miraculous growth. At 11:47 p.m., I got a text from Jordan. Letter drafted, Lenexa contract signed, ready for tomorrow's show. 6 more messages followed. My team was ready. Max wanted a pizza party. We'd give him one he'd never forget. The call from Heather Morrison came at 7:30 a.m. Friday morning, while I was reviewing client contracts one final time. Riley, I need to share something, she said, her voice carrying an undertone of excitement I hadn't heard before. I just got off a call with David Park at Pinnacle Systems. Word travels fast in this industry. I set down my coffee. David was one of our 3 major Q4 wins. What kind of word? He heard rumors about Zentraxis restructuring, asked if Lenexa might be interested in taking over their account if his words, the only competent team at Zentraxis, becomes available. My pulse quickened. What did you tell him? That we're always interested in strategic partnerships, Riley. He wasn't the only call. Jennifer Liu from Nexus Corp reached out yesterday. So did the team at Bridgewater Analytics. She paused. Your clients are already planning their exit alongside yours. I thought about Max's smug face, his absolute certainty that we were replaceable cogs. How many accounts are we talking about? If even half follow through north of 18 million in annual recurring revenue, the board's ecstatic. They've approved an additional 2 million for team retention bonuses, paid quarterly over the next year. Heather, I need to be clear about something. We're not poaching. Every client relationship will make their own choice. Of course, she said, and I could hear her smile. But when those clients discover their trusted team is moving to a company that actually values innovation and relationships, well, that's just market dynamics. After we hung up, I called Sandra Chen. Any last-minute concerns? Just submit your resignations through the proper channels. Email and hard copy. Be professional. Even when they're not, she paused. And Riley record everything if you're in a one-party consent state. Washington qualifies. I opened Signal and messaged the team. Small update. Our future employer is very motivated to ensure our success. Also, turn on your phone recordings when you submit. Legal says it's kosher. The responses were immediate. Eli. Already recording since I walked in. Sasha. Legal just made my day. Jordan. Wearing my lucky red dress. Let's burn it down professionally. At the office, the atmosphere was surreal. Pizza boxes were already stacked in the break room. The events committee had strung up dollar store decorations. A banner read, "Thanks for making us number one," in Comic Sans, because apparently, we were committed to the theme of insulting typography. I found my team in our usual conference room. Everyone impeccably dressed. We looked like executives heading to a board meeting, not employees about to receive their pizza participation trophy. Final check, I said. Resignation letters. Drafted and scheduled. They confirmed in unison. Personal items. Cleared out gradually all week, Wesley said. My desk looks like I never existed. Client documentation. Kendra patted her laptop bag. Every project, every strategy, every contact, ready for handover with 2 weeks' notice as legally required. Recording devices. 7 phones appeared on the table, all showing active recording apps. Alibis for being together. Q1 planning meeting, Noelle said. It's on the official calendar. We're discussing strategies they'll never see implemented. At 1:45 p.m., Max's assistant knocked. Pizza party starting, Max specifically requested the strategy team join him at the main table. Of course he did. One last power play. We walked to the main conference room as a unit. The space was packed, the energy forced and awkward. Max stood at the front, already holding court with his executive team. He spotted us and waved us over with exaggerated enthusiasm. There they are, our superstar strategists. He said it like we were children who'd won a spelling bee. Come on, don't be shy. Pizza's getting cold. We took our positions at the table he'd indicated center stage for maximum visibility. Perfect. Before we dig in, Max announced to the room, I want to personally thank Riley and her team for their contributions this quarter. You guys really delivered. He paused for the pun to land. A few people laughed nervously. In fact, he continued, why don't you tell everyone about your exciting Q1 plans? I'm sure they'd love to hear what's next. The room turned to look at us. 200 faces, most sympathetic, some curious, all unwitting witnesses to what was about to unfold. I stood slowly, smoothing my jacket. Actually, Max, perfect timing. We do have an announcement about Q1. His smile widened, mistaking my calm tone for compliance. I checked my phone. 2:14 p.m. In 60 seconds. 7 emails would fire simultaneously from our draft folders. But first, I said, meeting his eyes, we should probably discuss the elephant in the room, or should I say, the pizza in the room. The smile flickered. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, I think you do. I kept my voice conversational, but it carried in the quiet space. 65% of Q4 revenue, 1.9 million in earned bonuses, and we're celebrating with pizza that costs, what, $3 a slice. Riley, this isn't the time. When would be a better time? January 15th. He went pale. Behind him, the CFO's phone buzzed, then another, and another. 2:15 p.m. As for our Q1 plans, I continued, as phones began lighting up across the room, they're quite simple. We won't be here. The first resignation email hit. I saw Harold from HR's eyes go wide as he read his screen. The CFO was frantically typing. Max's assistant tugged his sleeve, showing him her phone. Effective immediately, I said, as my team rose in unison behind me. The entire business strategy team is resigning from Zentraxis. Our documentation is complete. Our transitions are prepared, and our legal obligations have been met. You can't, Max started. We can, Sasha interrupted. We did. This is highly unprofessional. The CFO stood, his face flushed. Like retroactively editing our performance reviews, Wesley asked mildly, or planning to terminate us after extracting our Q1 strategies. Gasps rippled through the room. The other employees were catching on. We'll sue, Max snarled, his mask finally slipping. Please do, I said. Our lawyer would love to discuss the $1.9 million in unpaid non-discretionary bonuses, or the fraudulent performance modifications, or the premeditated termination plans. Jordan stepped forward, placing a manila folder on the table. Transition documentation, as required, every project, every strategy, every client contact, although, she smiled sweetly, you might find some of those contacts have already been notified of our departure. Where are you going? Someone from marketing called out. I smiled at the room at all the people who'd been pizzaed before us, and those who would be after. Somewhere that values innovation over intimidation, results over retaliation. We walked out in formation, leaving Max standing amid his dollar store decorations and rapidly cooling pizza. As we passed the break room, Eli grabbed a single slice of Hawaiian. For the road, he said, I want to remember what 1.9 million tastes like. The elevator ride down from the 20th floor felt like decompression. 7 professionals in sharp suits, one carrying a slice of Hawaiian pizza, descending in perfect silence while our phones exploded with notifications. Lobby in 5 minutes, I said as the doors opened. Get your belongings, then regroup outside. Security was already waiting. Harold from HR moved fast when panicked. But we'd prepared for this. Every personal item had been removed days ago. Our desks were museum pieces, stripped of anything that mattered. Ma'am, I need to ask you to surrender your access badges, the head of security said apologetically. He'd always been decent to us. Of course, Marcus. I handed mine over, the others following suit. We've already documented the return. Would you like us to sign anything? He looked uncomfortable,